y'all, it's me Alex. Today I have a little first impressions tutorial review on the new BH Cosmetics Sweet Shop palettes. I bought two of them. I got the Pistachio one here, which is a green one, and the Cotton Candy one, which is like a pinky purple one. So firstly, I want to address, yes, I am in a different filming location. I'm dog sitting my roommate's dog, little Chihuahua, little old boy, over the weekend. We were chilling in the living room this morning, and he's very tired and very, like, he seems very content to be on the couch, and I don't want to move him to keep him with me, and I want to keep him company. So he's chilling, he's asleep, he is doing just fine, but I'm just in a different spot right now. I'll probably insert cute dog footage right about here, just because I feel like I can't talk about dog sitting and not show you the adorableness that comes with it. So yeah, have a basil, have a sweet little 13-year-old Chihuahua. Okay, y'all enjoy that? Yeah, good. Okay, so now onto the actual palettes. I did a demo on each eye, so you will see that later in the video. So firstly, I'm gonna do my review portion just in case you're interested in that, but not particularly interested in how I got these eye looks, because I know not everyone's super into tutorials, so we're just gonna talk about them. So first, I'm going to talk about the Pistachio palette, which is the green one. Here, if I sit like this, then I'll look more beauty guru-y. Hello. So this is what I used on this eye. I actually did use this once before this video, whereas the Cotton Candy one, this is the first time I'd used it since I gotten it, just because I really haven't had much of a chance to film it this last week and I feel really bad about it. But this is what the Pistachio palette looks like. Obviously it is a little monochromatic green palette, and I really like it. I think I prefer the pink one over this one, simply because when I looked at the shades online, I expected like this kind of little area to be a little bit more, I would say, neon-y, as opposed to what it is. The shadows don't perform badly, they just look different in person than what I anticipated online. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but I just expected something different. I think the shadows still perform absolutely beautifully. I don't have a problem like blending these shadows or anything like that, and I also am very just impressed by the shimmers. I also don't really care much for shades like this. It's not that it's a bad color, I just don't really prefer a dark green matte on myself, just because I feel like that can get a little bit muddy on me if you don't do it quite right. So I use this a little bit more as like an accent shade rather than like an all over the eye type shade. So that is kind of how I make that work. However, I am very impressed with the shade Crunch, which you will see in the demo. Like I said, normally I'm a little bit wary of darker green shades on me, but I think that this one applies really nicely. It has a lot of depth and dimension. I'm also a huge fan of Nutty right here, which is just a green, you know what I mean? Okay, fucking Dr. Seuss. So I really do enjoy the formula. I think the shimmers are pretty nice. I'm definitely a little bit more into the olivey foresty type greens on myself, but I don't have a lot of greens in this tone in my collection, which is why I decided to pick it up. I was also interested in the blue one, but I realized that I have all of those blues in my collection, whereas I think these two actually add a lot of whatever into my collection. As far as these sorts of shades go, Guilty Pleasure and Soft Serve, they do make very nice transition shades. I don't use them without deepening them up, simply because I'm not a huge fan of light colors on my eyes, and that comes for any sort of shade. It's not just a green thing. It's like pastels on me are not they're not my preference. So I more use these as a transition before I put like Nutty down. I feel like that works better. The shimmers I think are quite nice. I actually do really like this one, Sweet Life, just because it's kind of like a yellowy goldy green, and I like that that has a little bit of dimension. All of the shades go on really nicely. You really don't even need like a glitter glue if you don't want to do like a cut crease or anything like that, if you want to just put the greens down and blend it out, kind of like how I did this look today. The look I had done before with it that I have on my Instagram, I did do a little bit lighter, and I used a glitter glue to do a little bit of a cut crease. So you can kind of do what you want. Also, I just want to talk about BH's formula. I really like their eyeshadow formula. I really only own their Weekend Festival palette. I know that they have other palettes. It's more that I know that I really enjoy their eyeshadow formula, but none of their color schemes have really appealed to me since the Weekend Festival palette, except for these. So I'm very happy that they came out with this collection because I do feel like they did something good with the monochromatic trend that isn't just like duping ColourPop or Huda Beauty. So this one is really nice. I like how these shadows perform. It's not my favorite in the whole world, but that I think more has to do with the tones of greens that this is, and that they're not, I like foresty olivey tones. That is what I like in terms of my greens, and this isn't quite it, but if you do want to try some green eyeshadow, these perform really, really nicely. I had absolutely no trouble with this whatsoever. I think just the way that they've done like the mattes is really good for transitioning and building them up and giving a nice blend in between all of them, which I think is just might be a monochromatic palette thing, but BH's shadows do lend themselves to blending together really well, so I'm very impressed with this. Even if it's not my favorite green palette in the entire world, these are some very good quality greens, and I do think that this is very fun to work with. Okay, let's talk about this Cotton Candy palette. This is what I'm wearing on this eye, and I actually, in this look, managed to use all 8 of the shades just because I had this vision of like a halo-y eye with like a little bit of a shimmer in the middle, and I think it turned out really, really nicely. I find that the lighter shades in this palette, perhaps because the lighter shades in this one are a bit darker than the ones in the Pistachio palette, those come on a lot more pigmented than the Pistachio one, but I think that might just be because the greens in there are a little bit lighter, and also I think it is easier to formulate like lighter pinks and purples that show up on the skin tone, because generally speaking, I would say that pinks and purples, they're closer, at least to my skin tone, you know? Well, I don't really know of anyone with a green skin tone. You know what I mean? Do you know what I'm trying to say? I'm not a professional. Can you tell? So I'm personally really impressed with all these shades. I like this color scheme a lot more than I like the Pistachio one, just because I really like both pinks and purples. I feel like this added a lot more into my collection because I don't own too many pink eyeshadows, but I feel like this one has like, you can get a lot more looks out of this one than you can the Pistachio one, I think, just because you can do, you know, even just like a 2 shadow look with like something like that. I mean, you can do that with the Pistachio one too, but this one, that one is just a straight up green palette, whereas this one is like both pink and purple, you know what I mean? So I really like this one. As you'll see in the demo, all of the mattes blended together really, really nicely, as it did with the Pistachio one. Same with the shimmers in this one. You don't need a glitter glue unless you want to use, unless you want to do like a cut crease or something like that. So I'm very impressed with the shadow formula in this one as well. So I think honestly, in terms of these palettes, the quality between these two at the very least seems to be pretty consistent. So it all just boils down to what color story you prefer, and I personally really prefer this one. I just feel like I can do a little bit more with this. I also just really like these sorts of colors, especially the purples in the middle here with my eyes. I'm a purple berry toned person, so I'm very excited to get some more looks out of this one. I think it works pretty nicely. Okay, so now that I have kind of given you my thoughts on both of the palettes, let's just get into the tutorial. Okay, so I've already primed my eyes with my NYX HD eyeshadow primer as per usual, so I'm going to begin with this eye right here, and in this one I'm going to be using the Cotton Candy palette, the purples and the pinks, just because this is the one I haven't played with yet. I have played with the Pistachio one, so I figured, you know, we'll have a little fun with this. So first I'm going to begin with Confection here on this Elf and J Kiss J3 brush, and this is what I'm going to use as my transition shade, because I kind of want to do, I don't know, kind of like a purple to pink halo eye type of situation. I don't quite know how to describe it until I put it on my eyes. I would just want to use as many of these shades as possible. So this is just going on very nice and pigmented. This makes me really happy because the other one with some of the lighter shades, well, you'll see it a little bit, but they take a little bit more building up than this. So I'm just fluffing it on and really just blending it out into my crease. This isn't going to be the most prominent color in all of this, but I do think it is a nice blend between the shades that I'm going to kind of put everywhere. So next up, I'm going to use this BH Cosmetics blending whatever brush. This is kind of a combo packing and blending brush. This is one of my favorites, and I'm gonna just take Sugar Plum right here, this very like purpley shade, and I'm going to place that on the outer corner. And I think that this is a very, very beautiful shade. This is also going on very nice and pigmented. And like I said, just blending it a little bit into the crease there. And then for the inner portion of my eye, I'm going to begin with Carnival. I might deepen it up with this shade, which is Light and Airy, but I want to begin with Carnival just to see, because I definitely want this end to be like a pinkier version of this end. Oh, that is also beautiful and pigmented. I like that a lot. This is going exactly as I want it to. And then I think just to kind of bring those two shades together in the center, I'm going to use Light and Airy on that same brush I did for the pink. I forgot to mention it earlier, it's Alpha J Kiss, a J4 brush. But I'm just going to take that very lightly and just kind of blend that in the middle there. We're not using a whole lot, just enough to really blend those two shades together. I like this little blend here. If I had a white shade, I would almost just like put a matte white in the middle and be done with it. But I do want to use some of the shimmer shades because they look gorgeous. Okay, so now I'm just going to take this BH Cosmetics flat eyeshadow brush, and I'm going to use Fluff on the center there. And I'm not using any glitter glue because I don't want this to be particularly cut creasy or anything like that. I just want this to blend pretty nicely. And that is just such a beautiful shade. I think that looks just lovely. And I'm just going to use a brush I use for my crease, no extra product or anything on it, just to blend out the edges. That is really, really pretty. I like that a lot. So lower lash line time. What I want to do, I think I'm going to use Light and Airy to lay it down and then use the shimmer up here. So I'm going to begin with Light and Airy and just use this e.l.f. blending brush here and pack that on underneath. Yeah, I think that goes pretty fine. I don't want to do too much. Then I am going to take the shade Swirl here and pack that on. I might kind of just put it as close to my lower lash line as possible, just to really layer it on top. Oh, and that is like really beautiful and frosty. I don't know how much you can tell on camera. And I think actually I might also take a little bit of sugar and put that towards the inner corner, just because, I mean, what if I just try to use all of the shades? That has a really nice little iridescent type finish. I really wish I might do some more looks with this and just use that all over the lid because I think that is really pretty. Okay, and then I'm just going to use Twirl here as my inner corner highlight. Okay, so I think that that is a good... I got to use all of the shades in the palette on this one, so I'm feeling pretty happy about that. I really like how this look turned out. I think the shadows blend super nicely. So I'm going to now go in with the Pistachio palette on this eye. Okay, so it's time for the Pistachio palette, which looks like this, and I have used this once before. It's pretty nice. I use some of the lighter shades in it, so I think today I'm gonna work... I don't know what I want to do because the darker shades don't inspire me too terribly much, but I also want to get some good use out of it. I think I'm just going to go in with the shade Guilty Pleasure here and use that as my transition shade. I'm just taking it on the fluffy end of an Anastasia brush. It goes on pretty bright, which is nice. I definitely, when I looked at the pictures, I expected it to be like a little more neon. Like, this isn't a bad shade, but I definitely expected like a really, really pigmented neon type of green for this palette, but this isn't necessarily bad. It's just not quite what I expected. Okay, this is going on pretty nicely. For my first look, I had done just like soft serve in my crease and just really blended it up with all 4 of the shades, but I just kind of want to match the energy of this eye even if I don't do like the same shape and style. Okay, so then to kind of deepen it up, I'm going to take Nutty, and I really, really like this shade the last time that I used it. Sorry for the lighting changes. Obviously I'm used to it, but I'm just going to use it on a BH Cosmetics brush, and I'm going to deepen it up in the crease and also put it on the outer corner. That is really, really nice. I like that a lot. And I really appreciate that the mattes in these palettes just blend so seamlessly together. That's one thing I really like about kind of like monochromatic palettes, is that generally speaking the mattes work quite nicely. Okay, then I'm going to take Cone or Cup here, the darkest shade, and that I'm going to just deepen it up even more. We're just gonna see how far we can go with this. And this one, since it is a bit of a darker green, and I don't particularly like working with darker greens like this, just because I feel like on me they can get really muddy really quick. I'm just going to try and focus that towards the outer corner and then bring it in just a little bit, not quite all the way over. If you're someone who likes a dark smoky green, go right ahead and go whole hog with this. I'm just personally not a fan of using too much of that on myself. And then I'm just gonna blend the outer corner just a little bit more, not using any extra anything on it. This might be odd for me, but today I'm just generally not feeling super cut creasy. I am feeling a bit lazy, so I'm not going to do my usual, but I am going to take Crunch. And I think I'm gonna take Crunch and fade it into Treat on the lid. So with Crunch, I'm using the Elf & J Kiss J1 brush and just packing it on. I'm not gonna use any glitter glue or anything like that. And I'm going to begin that towards the outer half of my lid. This is a really pretty dark green. So I might make, you know what? The way that this is going on, this looks really, really nice and metallic. So I might make an exception to my not caring that much for dark greens rule on myself just for that one specifically, because I really like how metallic that is. That kind of surprised me a little bit. This is one that I did not use in my last look. But now I'm going to take Treat and put that basically on the rest of my lid. That is looking really pretty. I like that a lot. Also, maybe it's just because I'm used to doing this shit on my face, but I feel like I won't look too crazy if I go out like this with two different eyes, which is nice because I have to do grocery shopping later. So now I think along my lower lash line, I'm just kind of gonna mimic what I did in my crease. I don't want to, I don't know, I just don't feel like playing with the two lighter shades. Since I already used them in a previous look that I put on Instagram, I'm just not gonna do it. So I'm just going to go ahead and begin with Nutty as like my base shade. I'm using the Elf & J Kiss J2 brush. I'm just placing that as kind of a transition-y type shade down there. I just like this shade so much. This is such a good green. And I feel like at this point it takes a lot to impress me with greens. Just because I have so many green eyeshadows. Then I'm going to take the Elf & J Kiss J6 brush, which is just like this little smudgy liner brush, and I'm going to go in with Cone or Cup right here, the darkest. And then for my inner corner highlight, I'm gonna use the shade Dessert here, just because I feel like I want to go a little bit cooler tone, because I feel like that matches what's going on the rest of my eye a little bit more than the like more greeny gold tone that is Sweet Life. This is very nice, very pigmented. I like it a lot. Okay. So now that I have both eyes done, I'm gonna go in with the rest of the face, and yeah, you'll see the review and all of that. Okay, so those were the looks. I really hope you enjoyed it. I think that is it for this video. Like I said, the collection, at least from the two that I've tried, seems to be pretty consistent. So I think it mostly just boils down to what sort of color story do you prefer? Do you want pinks and purples? Do you want greens? They even have like blues, reds, oranges. I think they even have like kind of a neutral one. I might pick up the blue one someday, but I don't really feel the need to get any more than the ones that I have right now, just because I feel like I know what I'm doing as far as these go. So anyway, let me know what you thought of this down below if you want to see any more looks with these palettes. And thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and do subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos from me. And I will see y'all in my next one. I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Bye!